As an athlete, do you think you should be talking about the issue of racism publicly?
Yeah, absolutely. I think clearly as athletes at our level, we've got a platform that that can be used to get messages like racism out there. And clearly in our position as Australian cricketers and in our sport, it's something that we don't want involved in our sport, and we don't want involved generally in society. So yeah, for us to use our platform as much as we can to make people aware of that, I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same. I think we all get affected so much about our environments, and as a kid you get affected by who you spend time with, who you listen to, and for sure you listen to your athletes, your heroes.
Yeah.
And I feel really lucky to be in that position, so you want to use that wisely. And of course, racism, it's you want to get the message out there that kids are maybe take that extra second to think twice about saying or doing something. So I think it's really important. It's really easy if we just didn't ever mention it, but I think it's important we get it out there.
Yep, absolutely. Next one. How do you feel when people on social media make racist comments about an athlete?
Obviously annoyed, frustrated, but to be honest, I mean, I've never had it directed at me, so yeah. I probably can't really comprehend. I know this is a totally different scale, but if someone has a go at your performance or something that's so personal to you, it really eats away at you. It can be the difference between you loving cricket or hating cricket, or loving the group of people you're around or hating it. So for people that might get racist comments towards them every single day of their lives, it just must be, they might not feel like they have a safe place to go anywhere. They're doing what they love out in the field, and someone they've never met comes and picks out one little thing about them. So yeah, I just hate seeing it, just thinking we're in 2020 here, and this is still going on. And you're a bit helpless, what do you do? Yeah. But as I said, I've never experienced it myself, so I can't really speak for it.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, no, I'm always extremely disappointed when I see it happening, particularly to, of racial tones, I guess. I think, like you said, we're on a platform where you're going to get criticised about your performance, and that's our job, and people have the right to have an opinion on that. But I think when you take it to that personal level and dive into racism and start getting stuck into people about that, it does at times disappoint. It makes me feel a bit sick in the stomach when I read it. And yeah, I think people have got to be really aware of the effect that can actually have on the individual. Like I said, we're used to copping a bit of stick about things that are fair, but I think when they go down that sort of rabbit hole, it gets a bit ugly and, like I said, very disappointing. I think people using social media sometimes have to just think a little bit more before they do tweet something out or post on Instagram, and realise that the things that they're saying, whilst it is very easy to do on a keyboard, I think you've got to realise the effect that can have on an individual. And obviously, as I said, those racial undertones are something that is very upsetting and very difficult for those people to deal with. So yeah, it's disappointing when it happens. Is it me? Yeah. Yep. Me. When was the last time you had a shift in perspective on racism, and share a learning that you've had?
I'd say the biggest shift I've had in the last year or so is just our Indigenous culture here in Australia. Obviously at school you learn a little bit about it. I remember learning about, say, the stolen generations and I guess really small parts of the Indigenous culture. You learn about the boomerang didgeridoo, Dreamtime, some stories, but never really that, I guess, in depth. And I think it was always, that's the past, that was what that culture was, and never really speak that it still exists.
Yeah.
But the biggest shift for me was just learning about, Dark Emu is a great book that's came out a couple of years ago, and it talks about just how productive and how intelligent and how I guess incredible, the culture was at, not only surviving but thriving, how closely they were, intertwined with the land, and it kind of shifted my perspective from, I guess, I just thought a lot of the Indigenous were foragers or, just kind of just surviving off the land, and suddenly found out they've got, they would burn certain fires to make sure the bush survived. They would look after certain flora, fauna, had this whole ecosystem that was so finely tuned over 60,000 years. It kind of shifted my perspective to, wow, these cultures are absolute experts of this land that we live in, and we don't really tap into it nowadays. So just huge admiration and respect for, I guess, the history, and I just think it's cool we're living in Australia and it's got all this history that I didn't even know about a year ago. Just feel really proud to be an Aussie.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, I think mine has probably only really shifted a lot in the last 12 months since the whole Black Lives Matter thing started to take off. I was probably someone who, if I'm totally honest, probably just had my head in the sand a little bit, and because it probably wasn't a part of my world, I didn't have it as a big issue, and I think that's really opened my eyes to things and issues that people, our Indigenous people and black people and people of all sort of different cultures and stuff around the world go through. So for me, again, probably just turned a blind eye to it a little bit. But since this has sort of got going, I think I've taken time to speak to teammates, whether it's Tasmania or Hurricanes or club cricket, about how they feel about it and how it affects them. And I probably didn't realise how bad it was, like you said, for even people in our days. You sort of saw it as something that was a long time ago, and almost had that sort of attitude of, well, what can I do to help that anyway? But for me, my learning's been about just speaking to some of my teammates, understanding more how it affects them and how I can help them through that, and then again, obviously through the platform that we've got now as Australian cricketers to try and not that we can fix every issue, but again, just to use that platform to make more of us aware of it, and hopefully more people that were like me and it doesn't affect on a day-to-day basis, to realise that there's a lot of people out there that it does, and that we can help them in a small way. Just been having conversations have been my learnings, and as I said, how much it affects some of my teammates, and me being unaware of that for probably 15 years as a professional cricketer. So just probably the shift in that now.
Question 5. If you had a message to young people about racism, what would it be?
My message is pretty simple. It's just that it's unacceptable. I think we've got to try and stamp it out in society, not just in sport or whatever. I think it starts from a young age when you're going to school. It's about having respect for people. It's about having respect for people's cultures, understanding that we're all different. All people are different, all got different backgrounds, different cultures, different coloured skin, but at the end of the day, we're all people and we're all one, and we all should be treating each other the same regardless of that. So, my message is that it's not on, and we should treat all people the same.
Yeah.
You?
Yeah, spot on. Exactly the same. I think as well, just taking that extra second to think about what you say or do.
Yeah.
You might try and throw a joke, and I've definitely done this in the past. You just say a little one-liner or something off the top of your head, and then just making sure you actually reflect on that and go, actually, that's not me, or I've said the wrong thing there. I actually don't believe that. I don't know why I've said that, and I hate how I've made that person feel. So, try and fix that. Try and make it a learning experience. But I'd just say, as a kid, just make up your own mind, your own opinions. Don't just go with the flow of other people around you. And if you do something that you're not comfortable with, or you see something you're not comfortable with, try and find a way that you can maybe just get your message across to them that, hang on, I don't think this is acceptable. I hope you can think about that and reflect on that, and maybe be better next time.
Yep. Good one. Next one. Why do you think conversations like these are hard to have?
I'd say the biggest reason for, I think, like sports people or people in a position of, where people might listen to them and look up to them, I reckon it's hard because you feel like you might say something wrong. It's the wrong word or the wrong term or something, and suddenly that might get mistaken for poor intentions when your intentions you think are right. So I think that's one of the reasons why I think you see some of us uncomfortable to talk about it.
Yeah.
And the other one is it's changed. No one likes change, or everyone feels uneasy around change. So to try and shift your own, predispositions or whatever, it's not easy. It's much more comfortable just to sit there and go about life without trying to address some of these things. So I'd say they're the main reasons.
Yeah, I agree. I think all conversations like this that are on divisive topics are uncomfortable, and I think obviously people don't like having uncomfortable conversations. But again, I think it's something that you get better at with practice. I mean, using our sort of sporting analogy, we're trying to have more honest conversations with each other about performance, and even they're very uncomfortable. So when you go to topics that are, as I said, really divisive in a social perspective, I think they can be very difficult. But whilst they are difficult, I think they're really important, and particularly for now for someone like me who's a parent, to be able to have conversations like this with my children and make sure they understand why racism isn't okay is something. It's almost a conversation I'm looking forward to, because I think the earlier you can speak to your kids and make them understand, then the easier those conversations become as they get older, and the more information and the more understanding they have. But I think conversations, as I said, on subjects that are as important as this, they can be at times very uncomfortable.
If you were going to call out a friend or teammate for a racist comment, how would you do it? Here we go, Skip.
Well, yeah, it depends on the situation, doesn't it? But I've had, like you said, I've heard a few sort of throwaway lines, whether I've been in the gym or whether I've been at training or whatever over the years, and the simple thing is just to call it out. For me, it's probably just going over to them rather than making it a big scene over it, which can sometimes, I think, make the situation worse, particularly for the person that's had the comment made to. For me, a couple of times it's been just literally going over a teammate one-on-one, and I think the ones that I've been around haven't been meant to be sort of insulting the person. Like you said, it's been a throwaway line, someone thinking they're being funny because it's sort of been something that's been in sports change rooms for such a long time. But just tap them on the shoulder, make sure they know the comment they've just made is probably hurtful and harmful to the person that was aimed at, and and get them to go over and apologise or explain to them what they were actually doing or how they meant it. Either way, it's not really acceptable. But for me, it's, as I said, a quiet conversation. Make sure they're aware that it's not on, and times are changing, and make sure they go and speak to the person that was aimed at.
Yeah, no, spot on. I think, as you said, it could be more embarrassing for the person who the comments were aimed at if you try to make it this big grandstanding event.
Yeah.
So, hopefully you've got if it's a friend or a teammate, you've got a good relationship with them anyway, so they'll respect if you go up and just mention that, what they said was out of line. And as you said, I reckon 99.99% of times it's not malicious.
Yeah.
It's just people not thinking.
Yeah.
And normally when you mention it, they'll understand, okay, actually, I was out of line and that's not who I am. So they'll be better next time and try and fix up the situation. But I think as long as you're really strong on, I guess, your values and your intentions, even if your friend doesn't take it the right way, at least you can, I guess, go away with the knowledge that you feel like you've done the right thing.
Absolutely.